Douglas Woolley achieves his dream of being the devil's accomplice on Halloween, just like in his favorite game. However, he will soon tragically learn the difference between reality and child's play. Meryl Woolley and her youngest, Dougie, drive to the ferry to pick up her eldest, Jenna. Jenna plans to spend Halloween with her little brother, who wants to marry his beloved sister. Dougie is hooked on playing a video game called Satan's Little Helper on his console. The little boy aspires to find the devil and be his partner, just like in his game. He wonders if Satan is real, so his mother explains that he comes in different forms. When they reach the ferry, Dougie runs to welcome his sister. He enthusiastically shows her his costume, inspired by his favorite game. Then, Jenna introduces her family to her boyfriend, Alex, who is also a theater major. Dougie, who is possessive of his sister, glares at his sister's boyfriend and angrily walks away. When they reach home, Dougie runs away to find Satan without his sister, whom he is mad at for bringing her boyfriend. Their mother explains that the little boy has been obsessed with a new game their father bought for him. Afterward, Jenna welcomes Alex to her home, and he leaves his shoes by the door out of habit from his father's Japanese girlfriend. Meryl learns that the couple doesn't have anything prepared for Halloween costumes, so she pulls her daughter upstairs to lend her one and gives Alex the video game as he waits. Meanwhile, some kids in the neighborhood make fun of Dougie's costume, but the boy threatens that he'll find and ask Satan to punish them. As they leave, Dougie sees a man wearing a Satan's mask drag a bloodied person to sit on the porch of a house. The boy watches as the man sets the realistic display in awe. Back home, Meryl dresses her daughter as an immodest Renaissance woman, to which Jenna complains. On the other hand, the strange man arranges his realistic display, which already attracts flies. He then leaves his house and scares some kids, which amuses Dougie, so he follows him. Downstairs, Jenna shows Alex her costume, which he compliments. He tells her that he wants to dress up as Satan to win her little brother's favor, and they all agree. Meanwhile, Dougie watches Satan drag another dead man, whom he stabbed, and lay him on his lawn. The man hears the boy admire his work, which startles him, so he eyes the police mobile which patrols the area. Then, he walks by Dougie, who stops him and asks if he is Satan. The man doesn't reply, but the boy offers to be his helper, to which the man nods. The boy asks him to kill his sister's boyfriend and reveals that his father is away. Accepting the boy's request, Dougie happily joins the stranger. On the other hand, Alex, Jenna, and Meryl watch the news about Billy Flarin, who was just released from jail for committing arson. Outside their house, Dougie shows the stranger a way to their basement, where the boy usually hides. Curious about what Satan looks like, Dougie reaches to remove the man's mask, but he forbids him. Then, Meryl calls her son upstairs, so he answers back from the basement. He tells Satan that he will lure Alex to come down so he can kill him. Shortly after, Dougie invites Alex downstairs, but his mother stops him and pushes them all to the dining room. Alex tells the boy that he will dress up as Satan and orders Dougie to come to the costume store. The boy complains, but he should obey his master. Dougie goes back down and finds the man smelling Meryl's laundry. Oblivious of what he's doing, the boy informs him about the change of plans and tells him to follow them to the store. Jenna gushes over his brother and boyfriend bonding as they walk towards the store, unaware that a strange man is watching them inside their home. Arriving at the store, Dougie looks around but fails to see his master. Meanwhile, Alex looks for a mask that most resembles his father, who hates his son for choosing an acting career. The mask looks nothing like Satan, but Dougie tells him to buy it anyway since he plans to leave the store immediately. Outside, Dougie introduces Alex to the stranger who waits by a post and signals the boy to an alley. Then, Dougie leads his sister's boyfriend down the road and runs away. Suddenly, Satan pulls Alex into an alley and smashes his head onto the wall. The man hits him repeatedly until he loses consciousness. Then, the murderer carries Alex and sits him on an abandoned house's porch. He grabs a black cat who wanders around and smashes it on a wooden board, where he uses its blood to write the word boo. An onlooker mother and her daughter praise his authentic work and take his picture. Meanwhile, Dougie reaches home alone while his sister asks him about Alex. Instantly, the murderer rings the door, which Jenna mistakes to be her boyfriend. The man pushes her against the wall, but Jenna assumes that he's trying to tease her. Dougie watches his sister have fun with his master, who seems interested in Jenna. Meryl shares their amazement with Alex's costume and looks for her camera. Then, Satan follows Jenna upstairs and into her room, where he pushes her against the door. She assumes that her boyfriend likes it rough, but the man turns violent and strangles her. Abruptly, Dougie barges into the room and sees them, making Satan stop and pretend that they're only fooling around. Dougie tells her that the man isn't Alex, but she just assumes that her brother calls him Satan. Afterward, the siblings run downstairs to play with Satan, who locks the front door instead. Then, their mother comes down with her camera. Suddenly, Satan snatches it from her and takes a picture of Meryl's legs, creeping them out. Jenna tells the man to speak, but her brother defends him and says that he doesn't need to. Oblivious, the boy leads the man to his room and plays with his toys. Shortly after, trick-or-treating finally starts, so Meryl gives away money to the kids since she forgot to buy them candies. Upstairs, Dougie shares his excitement with Satan since he chooses to spend Halloween with him and shows him how he plays his favorite game. Meanwhile, Meryl and Jenna look for leftover candies in their kitchen. Meryl will go to her friend's party that night but forgets to make an egg tart. Troubled, Jenna offers to handle the candy situation while she leaves her mother to start making the tart. Hearing the trick-or-treaters, Satan and his little helper go downstairs to check if it's God, Satan's enemy. However, they are just regular kids, so Jenna asks the two to buy candies at the grocery. Still unaware, Jenna thanks the man for keeping in character for her brother. At the abandoned house, Alex gets up from the patio but falls in pain. At the grocery, Satan gets all the weapons and tools that he needs. Excited, Dougie makes him swear that he will not harm his mother and sister, and makes him do the Satan salute as a pact before getting some candies. When their items are bagged, Satan pushes their cart and exits immediately without paying. The bagger follows them behind the grocery to retrieve the unpaid items. Satan secretly gets the knife from the bag, stabs the worker, and throws him in the dumpster. The boy cheers and yells 20 points, just like when he scores in the game for killing people. Excited, Dougie rides the cart while Satan pushes him into the parking lot. They see a pregnant woman and the masked man hits her with their cart, earning them 50 points according to the boy. Next, they hit the baby stroller, which earns them 100 points. Lastly, they run over a blind man, earning them bonus points. Afterward, Dougie asks his master to bring him to hell, and he nods in agreement. Soon after, they stop in front of a house to trick or treat. Satan stops Dougie and leaves him by the gate, who thinks that he's on the lookout for God. Satan rings and waits for the elderly lady to open her door. When she does, he suddenly punches her in the stomach. By the gate, a group of kids make fun of Dougie when they see the old lady struggling from getting hanged in front of her house. The kids drive their bikes away in fright, but Dougie laughs at them for thinking that it is real, which it is. Inside, Satan steals the old woman's medicine pills before leaving. Meanwhile, a wounded Alex pounds at the door of his father Vernon's house, who is in the shower with a young woman, Nicole. However, Alex sees Satan and Dougie stop in front of the house, so he runs and hides. The boy is on the lookout once more as Satan walks to the door. Nicole greets him and mistakes him for Alex. Suddenly, the man slams her head into the doorway and throws her on the floor. Then, Vernon walks down and yells at who he thinks is his son for dressing up and blaming the acting school for his behavior. Vernon acts to hit him, but then Satan steps aside and throws him out the glass door while Dougie cheers. Later, Dougie asks the man for candy, but he gives him the old lady's pills instead. The boy assumes that he should mix it with the other sweets to give away, which his master approves. Unexpectedly, a police car stops near them and orders the man to step away from Dougie. The boy invites him to run, but he refuses and lets Dougie escape. Arriving home, Jenna asks her brother for her boyfriend's whereabouts, and he tells her everything. His sister doesn't take him seriously and demands her brother to tell Satan to talk to her. Then, Dougie's bullies come to trick-or-treat at his house when he decides to give them the mixed pills and candy. Meanwhile, Alex walks around town when someone who yells anarchy tells him to get home since 3 cops are found dead. At Dougie's house, Jenna paces the floor while she waits for her boyfriend, which her mother assumes must have gone to his father's house. Finally, Satan rings the doorbell, and Dougie lets him in and runs upstairs to play. Suspicious of where he came from, Jenna snatches the paper bag from him and discovers the weapons he bought and a bloodied rope. She asks him to speak, but instead, he locks the front door. Jenna asks him to stop acting while he slowly walks toward her, and she backs away in fright. He suddenly snatches the rope from her and is about to strangle her when Dougie calls for him. The man takes his bag and follows the boy upstairs. Horrified, Jenna realizes that the man behind the devil's mask is not Alex. Meryl comes in and thinks that her daughter's also acting, but her daughter tells her to be quiet. Jenna calls out for her brother, who's playing hide and seek with Satan, but her brother doesn't respond. When the doorbell rings, Meryl calls for Dougie. To Jenna's relief, the little boy comes down and complains. When he opens the door, he welcomes his father, who claims to be dressed as a businessman. Jenna stops Dougie from going back up and tells her father to call the cops. Their mother explains the situation, who's convinced that the kids are too serious about their make-pretend. Then, Dougie reveals that the man is in the basement, so his father carries him to check on his son's friend. When Dougie tells Satan to spill his father's guts, the man emerges from the door and stabs the businessman in front of his family. While Dougie cries and Jenna screams in terror, Satan ties the man's guts to the chair. Then, the murderer goes back to get his weapons. So the two children run away while Meryl is left with Satan. The horrified teenager calls the police, but no one can answer because the station is in flames and everyone has died. So Jenna meets her brother, who tells her that Satan took their mother. The eldest decides to get their mother back and tells her brother to lock the door. Outside, all the police officers are dead with tape covering their whole faces. Jenna reunites with her boyfriend, who reveals the whole story. Alex takes the police officer's gun, and together they go to Bell Castle, where Satan takes Meryl. The couple thinks that Billy Flarin is behind the mask because of how the police station is burning, similar to the arsonist's ways. At Bell Castle, Satan threatens Meryl with tape for her to stay quiet. However, Meryl's friends think that it's just a part of their Halloween costume. Back in the house, Dougie prays to God and apologizes for helping Satan. At the party, Satan pours chemicals into the drinking fountain and watches as people pour a drink into their glasses. Jenna and Alex finally arrive at the party in their new costumes. They pass by some guests who pass out because of their poisoned drinks. Then, they meet Mr. and Mrs. Flarin and ask them where their son is. However, on the other side of the room, Jenna sees Satan and her mother, who recognizes them from her exposed feet. So Satan puts another tape over Meryl's nose to restrict her from breathing. Jenna hurriedly wades through the crowd to reach them, but Meryl gets pushed around, making it harder for them to reach each other. Fortunately, Jenna finally catches her mother and releases her from suffocation. Meanwhile, Alex runs after Satan, who is back on the road. When he sees him, he points a gun at his head and asks for his identity. Unexpectedly, Satan acts to hit him, which Alex recognizes as his father. In shock, Satan snatches the gun from him and shoots his own hand. Then, he gives the gun back and walks away. With the town in chaos, Jenna arrives with a stolen car. Alex reveals that the killer is his father, even if he hasn't seen him beyond the mask. So Jenna drives to Vernon's house, where they see Satan standing by a tree. Jenna points the gun at him, but he refuses to kneel and remains unmoving. Then, Alex takes the gun from his girlfriend and shoots the man multiple times. Seconds later, Alex unmasks the man lying on the ground, who appears to be his father. Jenna tells him not to blame himself and goes to get Dougie. Meanwhile, Dougie refuses to let anyone in but realizes that God may ask to come in. So he opens the door and lets a man dressed up as Jesus inside his house and calls him God. Dougie tells him about the situation and notices his bleeding hand, just like how Jesus bleeds from being nailed to the cross. Shortly after, the man takes Dougie and they walk downtown. Dougie sees Jenna drive down the road and tells the man to take down Satan while he protects his sister. The boy runs to his sister and tells her that God has come to save them. She sees blood on his hands, so she drives them home. Inside, Jenna confronts him about the blood and learns that it is from the man who dresses up as God. She then asks her brother if the man killed Alex's father when they were out, which Dougie confirms. Then, their horrified mother returns home and reveals that the party turned into a massacre because of the poisoned drinks. Jenna realizes that her boyfriend is in danger and hurriedly calls Vernon's house. However, no one answers as Nicole lies down by the phone, dead and dressed as Mother Mary. Grieving, Alex doesn't notice the murderer, who slouches beside him and strangles him. On the other hand, Meryl stops her daughter from going after her boyfriend. A few moments later, they hear a crashing sound from the basement, so they grab an iron rod and a knife to protect themselves. Jenna and Meryl go down to the basement and see the man dressed as God in the corner of the room. Angered, the two women hit and stab him repeatedly. When they unmask him, they find Alex, now bleeding and with a tape over his mouth. Meanwhile, Dougie runs outside and waves over the rescue helicopter. However, the personnel doesn't see him and leaves. Dougie goes over to a police car and tells the radio to come back for them at 66 Helen Street. Suddenly, a policeman comes over to Dougie, who he leads to his house. The helpless woolies invite the man inside, who wears another mask to hide his face. Before entering, he paints a number 6 on the house number by the door, which now reads 666. Jenna wonders why the man doesn't say anything, to which Dougie answers that he's afraid Satan will hear him.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.